Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another video, or hello and welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Rachel and I'm currently just filming a series of hiking around the Cotswolds and the surrounding area, and I am talking about a couple different topics all relating to travel. So this is my fourth video. So today's walk actually does start off in Painswick again. It's a walk I've never done before, and it's about 7 miles or just over 7 miles. Starts from Painswick, goes through to around Slad, but I don't think it actually goes into Slad, through the sort of Slad Valley, and then back to Painswick again. So we'll see how this walk goes today. So if you did watch my last video, you'll see that I had to take a detour because part of the path was inaccessible, essentially, and I ended up skipping off actually this part of the walk. So I have walked this way before, but I've never gone this way. I've always come and gone down that way. So it's interesting to do it all backwards, and it's nice that I've actually been able to do this part of the walk because I like this part. I missed it last time, and I love that little sort of like water collection point. I don't know what you call that. It's not a waterfall, but it's very nice. Okay, we are on to a new path that I have not walked before, so that bit I've just done I've walked on before, so kind of know the route. This bit is all new to me, so hopefully directions are easy enough to follow, and I don't get lost like I did with my first walk, but we sussed it all out in the end. But anywho, today's video I wanted to talk about my backpacking trip to Italy. Like, why did I choose Italy as my first backpacking trip? What was it like? How we got around? Was it easy? And the cost as well. I've done a cost breakdown on my Instagram and probably on my TikTok as well, so I'm not going to do the breakdown today because I haven't got all the figures and numbers in my head. But I can let you know how much I spent over 2 months. I felt like a monkey. I'm watching too many videos about Bali. Oh, this is a bit muddy. There we go. Oh. Okay, so why on earth did I decide to go backpacking Italy? It isn't exactly known as a country that's for backpacking, and nor is it known to be affordable to do so when you're on a budget like me. So I'd been to Italy twice before, once for 2 weeks, like just after my graduation from uni. We did like the main cities, Venice, Bologna, Florence, Rome and Naples. And then I did another trip a couple years later, which was last year, to Milan, and then like a little trip up to Lake Como over a bank holiday weekend because I didn't want to stay in the UK. I wanted to get abroad, so that was like the cheapest flights available. So having been just those 2 times, I was like, this place is absolutely stunning and I want to see the whole country. So that's basically why I chose Italy. I just became obsessed with it, and just wanted to see more of the country. So I pretty much visited almost all of the well-known cities and like popular destinations. So yes, I did all the touristy things. There's a couple of places that I haven't been to, like Lake Garda and the Dolomites, and I am going to Lake Garda in about 2 weeks' time. I'm hoping to maybe do a day trip up to the Dolomites. I'm probably not going to be able to get any hiking in, just going to take too much time to get up there and do the hiking and things, but I might try and explore some of the sort of mountain towns potentially. We'll see how that goes though. So how easy is it to get around as a backpacker in Italy? Because you're obviously not going to be hiring a car because we're on a budget here, we don't hire cars, but the country as a whole is pretty well connected by public transport. So within the cities, a lot of the cities are walkable, and a lot of them do have very good public transport available. So you've got trains sort of from city to city, You've then got a lot of cities that have trams, and then you've also got the metro. So getting around a city is pretty easy. If you're travelling from city to city, sort of the major places, there's plenty of trains that run really frequently, and you get two options. You've got like the slower regional trains, or you've got the sort of faster, nicer, like the trains that sort of go through each city, sort of the longer trains. They're a bit more expensive, so you can get around really easily with train, nice and cheaply. And also you've got buses. You've got a lot of bus companies that you can use to get around quite easily. And with the trains, they are quite spacious. You've got plenty of places to put all your luggage and things. They are definitely backpacker friendly. And every time that I've been to Italy, we've pretty much exclusively travelled around with public transport. As a whole, as I said, it's well connected. The only place you might start to struggle is right down the south in Puglia. Obviously it's not very touristy and things down there, so there's just not as much public transportation. So to get around the cities, you've got trains, but some of the other popular places, like if you're down in Puglia and you're in like Bari and you want to go to Alberobello, the only option is a bus. You can get the train, but it takes like double the amount of time because you have a change, and the change is so short that you're guaranteed that you're going to miss that change and have to get a following train, which is like either half an hour or an hour later. So that really adds on to the journey. Oh, it did say that there were a couple hills, and this is like a moderate walk. It's been a few little hills, and they've been tiring because I've been talking a lot as well, which makes it twice as bad. But so secondly, what accommodation is available in Italy? Is it affordable? Because obviously for backpacking, we haven't got a massive budget for where we're staying. So you have a ton of options of where to stay in Italy. You've got from like hotels, Airbnbs, B&Bs, you have got hostels as well. I found on a whole, hostels cost just as much as hotels, and some Airbnbs you can find really, really cheap. But this is sort of the section where you need to do a lot of research because there are so many options. And the best way to find sort of the best deal is to just do lots and lots of research, work out what area of the city you kind of want to be in, where's near to what you want to do, and sort of go around that area. If you don't mind walking or like catching a bus into a city or into the area you want to be, then that gives you a bit more flexibility to go a bit further out, where accommodation is generally a bit cheaper. So throughout my trip, we stayed in one hostel, and it was described as like a deluxe hostel. We had a private room because there were two of us. We weren't too worried about staying specifically in hostels, particularly when they cost just as much as a hotel when we could have our own space. We also stayed in quite a few Airbnbs and like the odd hotel as well. I know we stayed in Florence, we stayed in like a boutique hotel which had like shared bathrooms, sort of a common room and things. That was nice vibes, to be fair. So you've got different options. Even within hotels you've got like shared facilities and things like that. So it very much depends on your budget and what you're happy with, essentially. In terms of how much we spent on accommodation, I tracked everything. So accommodation was about 50% of the whole sort of spending budget. So it was £1,400 for, it was about 7.5 weeks of accommodation, which for Italy, that's not too bad, to be fair. And it is possible to find hostels that are cheap, but you need to check the reviews, because a lot of places that were actually cheap were just not very nice places to stay. So yeah, this is a whole section of, you just need to do your research regarding accommodation, and you definitely need to book in advance. So obviously some countries that aren't as touristy or as popular, you could just wing it and literally just like rock up somewhere and be like, oh, have you got a room? And probably chances are yes. Italy, it's not the case. You pretty much need to book your whole trip in advance if you're traveling pretty much in summer regardless, in potentially even shoulder season, especially if there's particular places that you want to go. If you're happy to just kind of see where's available and go with the flow, then you could do that. Oh, spider webs. But if there's anywhere specific you want to go, you definitely need to book in advance. I've just spotted a deer. Okay, that was pretty cool. I don't know what kind of deer that is. I can never remember which one's which, but I don't get to see deers very often. Not where I live. The most that we'll get is hedgehogs and foxes. My shoes are definitely losing their waterproofness. There's so much dew on the grass and I can feel my socks are wet, but I don't care. One, because I don't have to wear these for that long. I know I'll be going home after this. And two, it's just the fresh air is so beautiful. It's not exactly sunny and like a beautiful sunny day, which would put me in a better mood. But nature. I saw a deer, so that's pretty cool. Oh, just on one of the long hills. They weren't wrong. It's pretty humid as well at the moment, so I've had to take a layer off. But I need my coat from my pockets and my GoPro and my phone, and tie my hair back as best that I can, even though it's failing because I've cut it short and half it won't go up. But the next thing with travelling Italy is food, and if you like Italian food then you're fine. Like, Italian is my favourite cuisine, so as a fussy eater, great. If you're lactose intolerant or vegan, then there definitely are issues with getting any place with either that actually has options for you or has more than one option. So that might be a difficulty if you have those food tolerances or preferences. But food can be expensive when you eat out. You can definitely find much cheaper places, and you can find lots of places that are just like quick takeaway food. So I would recommend, if you're staying in a place for like more than a couple days, maybe more than 3 days, I would definitely book somewhere that's got a kitchen so that you can cook your own food. Because if you're staying more than 3 days, so if you're staying like a week or something, that's a lot of days of potentially eating out. So a lot of hotels, you can't cook food or anything like that. You can do pot noodles, which we did in a hostel. We didn't have a kettle, but they had like a little common room kitchen area, and we just asked the very lovely man to put some hot water in our pot noodles. So you definitely can do it on a budget, but if you don't have a kettle, you usually can just ask for a kettle. So it can be done on a budget. The best way to do it on a budget is, this does come down to the accommodation that you pick as well. Get an accommodation where you can cook food for yourself. It's definitely the cheaper way of going about doing it, and I would recommend that. As it is always important to make sure that you do experience the places that you're visiting and treat yourself every now and then. What we did was, every place that we stayed, we would eat out at least once, just so that we could experience sort of a different vibe of the city or a destination in the evening, experience some of the lovely food, but kept to a budget because we'd eat in or cook the rest of the time. Apparently soon there is a very steep downhill path coming, they said, with a handrail. So I'm intrigued to see how steep that's meant to be. It's a big tree. If you are looking at travelling to Italy or backpacking Italy and you're not sure how long to spend in each place, I have done a series of videos on my TikTok. I will try and link them because they're quite far back. I've not got the ability to make like playlists on my TikTok, not that I've managed to figure out anyway, so they're quite far back, they're quite hard to find, but it explains everywhere that I went to, how long I stayed there for, whether I thought that that was long enough, too long. Some places I did purposely stay for a little bit extra just so we had kind of like a down day, so a day to literally just chill, catch up, because travel is exhausting, and that does lead me on to like when you're traveling generally it's exhausting. You're going to want to factor in sort of down days, extra days to do like your washing, chores, things like that, just to relax. If you're like me and you're trying to create content, you need time to actually sit on your phone, your tablet, your whatever, to create that content. Otherwise it's just going to fill up your days of wanting to explore and do things. So factor in extra days. And that reminds me, actually, back to sort of transportation, because Italy's quite a small country. I mean, it's not massive, so if you are seeing a lot of like the cities and things, they're not that far apart. Like the longest journey you're probably going to have is maybe like 3 hours, and unless you're like us, and we did the Amalfi Coast all the way to Bari, which was like basically a whole day of travel. But generally you don't waste too much time as you're travelling around if you're stopping off at all the places. Obviously if you're travelling from like right up north to somewhere sort of quite down south, you're going to take up a lot of time there, so account those days as kind of a nothing day, if that makes sense. You're not going to do any sightseeing and things on that day. So the next thing to consider is what time of year plan to visit and how you actually plan to visit the country, because the majority of like the touristy places and like the popular cities are generally, you've got them kind of spread out across the north, so from east to west, but you've also got the majority of them as you head down the country, mostly on the western side, and you get all the way down to Naples, which most people would probably go from Naples to the Amalfi Coast and kind of like leave it there, but you could go all the way across to the east coast and visit Puglia as well, which I do highly recommend. Now in terms of time of year to visit, summer is heaving, busy, expensive, and you need to book up like well in advance, like months in advance. So if you're traveling like a backpacker, I wouldn't travel in summer, so I'd say from June to sort of the start of September, once kids go back to school, so middle of September onwards. Even then, shoulder season, so it's still a little bit busy, but the weather is still nice. So I travelled from middle of October, mainly because it wasn't exactly planned. I just decided to quit my job and I was like, I'm going to travel Italy now. So I went middle of October and came back right at the start of December. Now I would probably recommend, if you're going to do it after the summer, is maybe go from the mid-September, because November is out of season. So any coastal towns, there were no boat tours, like no excursions, everything's pretty much stopped at that point, so there's not too much to do. If you're planning to stick around sort of like the major cities, then going out of season is absolutely fine. It'll be quieter, a bit cheaper. I don't know about over like December, January and February time, whether some odd things might be closed just because it's not busy enough. So that's definitely one thing to consider. But majority of the cities have still got a lot of things going on, a lot of things to do. It's just the coastal towns off season that you'd probably want to avoid if you're not doing sort of spring, summertime. Okay, so we've reached these old farm machinery, and there's the path with the handrail. It says it's quite steep. Well, they're not wrong actually, that is quite steep. Okay, well if you're not paying attention, you will definitely miss this path. So we've just come to the bottom of where that steep path is with the handrail. If you go left, you go into the village of Slad, which I'm not going to do because I've been there before. It's very lovely, I do recommend it. And there's the Wolfpack Inn, but it wouldn't be open now for any food or anything. But if you turn right, you walk a little bit, you'll pass like some big houses. Around about those big houses, there is then a path that sort of like tucks away on the left just after like a gate that looks like lower down. There is a sign, but you can't see it very well. So if you're planning to do this walk, then you come down here. Beautiful views. So if you clicked on this video because you are interested in travelling Italy, backpacking Italy, sorry this isn't an overly informative video. This isn't what this was meant to be. It's just kind of, you get the gist of what I've done, a few things that I might suggest, and to give you some ideas. but I do post a lot of my Italy content on my Instagram, so I've got loads of tips, recommendations, and I've kind of gone through the content, gone on to something else because I did some other travels and I keep going back to it. So currently I've just been doing Copenhagen, so I've gone back to Italy again now. So I post a lot of stuff over there on my Instagram, but also on my TikTok, so I'll link them below so you can find them, because I am posting a lot. I've got 2 months of content and there's so much to go through still. So I would have completely missed this if I wasn't reading the directions, and I read the directions and I was aware of this but still missed them. But there are like drawings on the fence posts, and I think they are mostly of badgers. And there is a badger with a snowman. I think they're pretty cool. More hills, but every time I've walked up a hill, that song on TikTok where it's like more energy, more energy, more footwork, more footwork, it's just playing in my head, because I have to be my own hype woman because I hike on my own a lot of the time. So it doesn't look that steep, but it is, especially after a few steep hills already. Oh, coat is off. And we have a fun cattle grid. And we have, by the looks of things, a lot more uphill climbing to do. But it looks like there is a nature reserve over that way. But if we backtrack to Italy, if you are interested in Italy content, I've already said about my Instagram and TikTok, leave a comment and let me know that you're particularly interested about Italy content, and I can do some more like proper like sit down or at least thorough videos of traveling around Italy. Like I am literally going back in about 2 weeks time just for a couple of days, so whilst I'm there I could cover a few topics and film some videos, so just let me know about that. So I'm quite intrigued about this whole Loreley Wood Reserve, an ancient woodland. But I'm hungry and I don't have that much food, so I'm not going to explore it today. My hair is making me laugh. We'll ignore that. But I might come back just to sort of explore part of that. I wouldn't want to drive around these roads because these lanes are awful, the potholes are insanely massive. I can hear voices in the distance. But other than that, and the aeroplane, I can hear the birds. It's so very peaceful. I think this is Elcombe. Very, very small, quaint village. So with regard to how much I spent over the whole like 2 months of my Italy trip, it was just shy of about £3,000. I think it worked out about 2,800. Not including like the bag that I bought beforehand, my travel insurance. I would say like the best part of £3,000 really. Now a lot of people seem to be quite impressed by that. But yeah, it was going into off season, so we didn't do too many activities and things like that. We were picky about accommodations, so we were going with kind of what was ever really cheapest. We were eating out once in each place, but not that much more cooked in otherwise. Oh my god, there's a path. It's just full of stones and sticks going downhill. But all the trees. This will look awesome in a bit further into autumn. But the big question is Italy a suitable place to go backpacking, or even backpacking on a budget? And I'd say yes, absolutely. It's well connected by public transport. You can get around the cities quite easily. You can get between cities and the smaller towns. You've always got the options of taxis if there's more than sort of one of you. There's a couple of you, split the cost. You've got a whole range of activities and things to do. You've got really cheap things. There are free things to do as well in a lot of cities. You can just see the monuments. Food is amazing. You can go out and eat on a budget. There are places, but you can also just cook at home and buy food from the shop. Like if you like pasta, there's a whole array of pastas in the shops, which I absolutely love, and I wish we had more here, but obviously we're not Italy. So the weather is beautiful majority of the year as well. Obviously other than winter it's a bit cold, but then you get cheaper accommodations and things like that. So I would 100% say if you're looking at backpacking Italy, then 100% do it. And it is so doable on a budget. Oh, I'm gonna have to sit down for a second because that was a lot of uphill. And I found a bench to actually sit on. But I think if you go left here, I believe it takes you back into the village of Slad, which I'm not going to go into today. Oh, we must be on the home straight now because I can see Painswick over there. I can see the beautiful St Mary's Church popping out. I don't know how well it shows up on the GoPro because it's very wide angle, but I promise it's there. It's been 3.5 hours as well, and I've stopped not long but a couple of times, so we must be nearly there. But I'm going to end the video here as I don't think I'm particularly far away. I've got a nice view Painswick here from the gate, but thank you so much for watching another video of me just chatting about travel stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything that you want to, any more information you want to know about Italy, check out my Instagram and TikTok. I do post a lot of like tips, guides, recommendations and things over on there. I do also have some itineraries and guides on my Thatch store. I have some free ones and some paid ones. They're all really cheap. They're literally like cheaper than a cocktail, so but I'll leave it all linked in the description. I hope I've helped partly for your trip to Italy. If there's any like content or things that you just want to find out about that I haven't covered on my Instagram so far, then just leave a comment and let me know. I know things like trains and getting the buses can be a bit complicated. I can do like more in-depth videos on how to use them. I've done a very quick one on TikTok which has become very popular actually, and it's got like 700 saves, which I was only responding to someone's comment that's like, oh, here's how you use trains, blah blah blah, and people actually find it really helpful. And some information that's not included in there because I didn't have time to. Buses are a whole nother ball game of trying to work them out as well, so I can do videos like that if you want to. But I will see you again in another video. Bye. I obviously took a wrong turn, but it takes you to like the other side of the village. We have the stocks and the church. The churchyard is beautiful, so if you do this walk or want to visit just the town, visit Painswick, the village I should say, it is beautiful. Church is beautiful, and apparently there are only 99 of these yew trees, because apparently if there was 100th one planted, the devil would destroy it, something like that. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Lots of little tea rooms, it's like 1 or 2 pubs, beautiful church, beautiful countryside.